One of the things Putin's been doing is he's been calling Donald Trump Gramps.
The CDU needs a new beginning and change. The CDU needs a forward-looking political discussion, and this means, in my view, that the CDU must clarify its identity.
If I did it, you would be standing up in that chair shouting at me, and you know what I'd do? I'd say, you got me.
Did you know that 100% of new German chancellors named Friedrich Merz think Trump is full of schnitzel? Okay, maybe that's not a real statistic, but Merz's takedown of Trump is 100% real and 200% savage. In his first big speech, Merz called Trump's actions dangerous and idiotic. He even linked Trump to baddies like Putin. Want to see a political newcomer dish out more burns than a German sauna?
But Merkel's resignation prompted Merz to reignite his political ambitions, pitching himself as the CDU's next leader and one closer to its core political message.
So Vladimir Putin just continues to brutally mock Donald Trump on Russian state TV, like we previously reported how Putin was just...
How has your life changed over the last 3 weeks?
It's incredible, and we are very, very busy. The life is...
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Well, looks like our favorite orange turd just got served a heaping plate of humble pie with a side of sauerkraut. Grumpy Trumpy thought he was winning in Germany, but boy oh boy, was he in for a rude awakening? Picture this. Trump sitting in his golden throne, probably tweeting, thinking he's got Germany wrapped around his tiny finger. Meanwhile, Friedrich Merz, the new German chancellor, is about to drop a truth bomb that'll make Donnie's spray tan melt right off his face. So what's the deal? Trump, in his infinite wisdom, decided to claim victory in Germany. Yeah, you heard that right. The guy who couldn't find Germany on a map if his life depended on it suddenly thinks he's the worst king of Europe. But Merz wasn't having any of it.
One of the things Putin's been doing is he's been calling Donald Trump Gramps.
The CDU needs a new beginning and change. The CDU needs a forward-looking political discussion, and this means, in my view, that the CDU must clarify its identity.
If I did it, you would be standing up in that chair shouting at me, and you know what I'd do? I'd say, you got me.
In his acceptance speech, Merz didn't just disagree with Trump, he roasted him like a bratwurst on a hot grill. He called out Trump's alternative facts and reminded everyone that Germany isn't some Trump golf course he can just buy and slap his name on. Now let's drop some real facts about what the CDU, that's Merz's party, for those of you who slept through Political Science 101, actually stands for. They're all about a strong Europe, fiscal responsibility, and not letting loudmouth foreigners tell them what to do. Sound familiar, Donnie? But the real kicker came when Merz started talking about Trump's understanding of German politics. He said, and I quote, "Mr. Trump's grasp on German politics is about as firm as his grip on reality." Ouch, that's gonna leave a mark bigger than Trump's ego. Merz didn't stop there. He went on to school Trump on how German democracy actually works. Spoiler alert, it doesn't involve claiming victory before the votes are counted or trying to overturn elections when you lose.
Merz became known for his hardline stance on immigration, in contrast to Merkel's decision to welcome more than 1.2 million refugees and asylum seekers.
It will be used as pretext by Russia and other authoritarian regimes to say, actually, we're going to conquer these places. You know what?
The seas will rise over the next 400 years, 1/8 of an inch, you know. Which means basically you have a little more beachfront property, okay?
Who knew, right? By the time Merz was done, Trump's face was probably redder than a MAGA hat. The new chancellor had just given him a crash course in German politics 101, and let's just say, Trump failed spectacularly. Looks like Trump wasn't the only one getting a German-style roasting at Merz's political barbecue. Our new chancellor had a whole menu of burns ready to serve. And next on the chopping block, none other than space cowboy Elon Musk and Trump's bestie, J.D. Vance. Merz didn't pull any punches when he called out Musk for sticking his nose where it doesn't belong, right in the middle of German elections. He basically said Musk's meddling was as bad as if Putin himself had tried to mess with their votes. That's like saying your annoying neighbor is as bothersome as a hungry grizzly bear crashing your picnic.
I have a wonderful wife who has to listen to this stuff all the time. They do that for this reason.
never doing deals with the far right. But closer to the election, Merz ruled out a coalition with his nationalist populist rivals.
We'll take a look at TikTok.
We're looking at TikTok. We may be banning TikTok.
We're not doing anything with TikTok.
Joe Biden is responsible for banning TikTok.
Talk about a cosmic-sized burn. But wait, there's more. Merz didn't stop at just roasting the Tesla tycoon. He went full Gordon Ramsay on J.D. Vance, too. You know, the guy who thinks kissing Trump's orange behind is a political strategy. Merz lumped him in with Musk and Trump as part of the "we don't understand Europe, but we'll mess with it anyway" club. Now, you might be thinking, why is Merz getting his lederhosen in a twist over these guys? Well, turns out Europeans are getting pretty fed up with America's shenanigans. Polls show that folks across the pond are side-eyeing US leadership harder than a teenager looking at their parents' dance moves. They're starting to think maybe it's time to cut the cord and do their own thing. Merz, being the savvy political chef he is, cooked up a spicy little idea. He's talking about a new European defense alliance that doesn't need America's help.
And prices could go up somewhat short term, but prices will also go down. And I think the farmers are going to be helped by this very much.
And so what was Donald Trump doing over the weekend as well? Well, as Kentucky, Virginia, and West Virginia suffered devastating storms, over 10 people were killed.
Reached an all-time high.
It was a long, before I ever got here, it was at an all-time. This didn't, remember, I've been here for 3 weeks. And
It's like he's saying, hey, NATO, it's not you, it's us. Actually, it's Trump. We're breaking up. Can you imagine the look on Trump's face when he hears Europe's planning a party and he's not invited? But here's where Merz really turned up the heat. He painted a picture of a Europe that's strong, independent, and most importantly, Trump-proof. It's like he's building a political wall. And guess who's paying for it this time? Not Mexico, that's for sure. Well, folks, it looks like Chancellor Merz just redefined German efficiency in the art of political roasting. He's not just burning bratwurst, he's grilling the whole Trump administration. Who knew the Germans had such spicy comebacks hiding behind their lederhosen?
Trump saw the Expendables 3 on his plane last night and is like, I need those guys to help.
The 14th Amendment, though, says that, quote, all persons born in the United States are citizens. Can you get around the 14th Amendment with an executive action?
The country's finances, once heavily reliant on cheap gas from Russia and exports to China, are floundering. Germany's business model, Merz declared, was now gone.
Keep your eyes on Germany, folks. They're cooking up something that smells a lot like independence with a side of "we don't need your Twitter tantrums, Donnie." Europe's new sheriff isn't just laying down the law, he's writing a whole new rule book. As for Trump's future victories, well, let's just say Merz has about as much faith in those as he does in Elon Musk's ability to stay off social media. Looks like the only wall Trump's building now is between him and reality. Auf Wiedersehen, Grumpy Trumpy.
You said that Ukraine should not be entitled to its own land pre-2014 borders. You also said that Ukraine should not be a member of the of NATO. Zelensky said Trump has no plan. By the way, Trump, you told Americans as well that Russia was going to be sending a delegation to Munich where all the sides were going to talk, turning over all of their rare earth materials to the United States, and you had your people demand he sign it right there, which he did not do.
Trump claims his presidency was the most statesmanlike in history when it comes to peace in Ukraine. Meanwhile, in reality, he tried to blackmail Ukraine's president and constantly undermined NATO. So how did we get from stable genius to unstable grifter? Join us as we track Trump's descent into madness, one unhinged social media post at a time. We'll explore how his deteriorating mental state could impact global politics, and why we should all be paying attention. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Well, folks, it looks like our favorite orange-tinted ex-president has been at it again. Trump's latest Twitter tirade is a real doozy, and it's got everyone from political analysts to late-night comedians scratching their heads.
Trump's psychopathic behavior is getting worse as he loses more cases in courts, as his authoritarian designs are being resisted by Europe, by Canada, by Mexico, and elsewhere. he who saves his country does not violate any law. Says every dictator, I think, ever. That's what he's posting this morning, how utterly pathetic and weak he has been looking as the world has been both horrified, mortified, and just vicariously humiliated by his behavior.
Grumpy Trumpy woke up on the wrong side of his gold-plated bed and decided it was time for a good old-fashioned rant. But this wasn't just any ordinary meltdown. Oh no, this was a special kind of crazy that only Donnie Diapers could deliver. The highlight of this tweet storm? Trump quoting, "He who saves his country does not violate any law." Now, I don't know about you, but when someone starts quoting dictators, it's usually not a great sign. It's like he's trying to win a game of who's the most unhinged, and he's determined to take home the gold. But wait, there's more. Our orange friend then moved on to threatening to audit the IRS into oblivion, because apparently in Trump's world, that's totally how government works. It's like he thinks the IRS is just a big piggy bank he can smash open whenever he feels like it.
Should I audit the IRS into oblivion? Pause there. I'm going to show you what he wrote, but let me tell you what I think you should do. You should have no tax on tips. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. But there was an $880 billion cut to Medicaid, a $350 billion cut. You should lower the prices of groceries. You should lower the prices of eggs. You should make housing more affordable. Those were the things that you promised.
And let's not forget his bizarre obsession with VAT taxes. Trump's been ranting about imposing tariffs on countries with VAT taxes, which is kind of like threatening to put pineapple on pizza because you don't like sushi. It just doesn't make sense. But hey, who needs facts when you've got all caps tweets, right? Political experts are watching this Twitter meltdown with a mix of fascination and horror. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion, except the train is covered in fake tan and bad hair. They're worried that Trump's social media behavior could have some serious consequence for American politics. I mean, who knew that 280 characters could cause so much chaos? As Trump continues to influence the Republican Party, his erratic claims and threats are raising eyebrows higher than his weird comb-over. It's like he's playing a game of, how much can I undermine public trust in one day? And let me tell you, he's winning that game hands down. Remember when Trump called himself a very stable genius?
The fact that they've audited you before because you don't pay your taxes. And it turned out that when people looked at your tax returns and they finally got 4 or 5 years, but this is how he riles up his base, who I doubt have been audited the way Trump has been audited. Here's his post announcing the first ever presidential poll from Donald Trump. I hear that they'd fail worse than crooked Joe Biden on the debate stage. It would be that bad. Ben, are you sick of them? Before I make any final decisions, I need to hear directly from you.
Well, folks, it looks like the stable has left the building, but the genius for causing chaos is still going strong. Our favorite orange turd has been on quite the journey lately, and let me tell you, it's wilder than his hair on a windy day. Trump's recent behavior has been raising more red flags than a communist parade. He's been spouting off about ruling like a dictator and ignoring laws like they're just pesky suggestions. It's like he's playing a game of how much can I freak out America in one day? And let me tell you, he's winning that game hands down. The experts are getting worried, and not just because they're afraid Trump might try to grab them. They're saying his mental state is circling the drain faster than his failed casino ventures. It's like watching a reality TV show where the star thinks he's still the president, but everyone else knows he's just a grumpy old man yelling at clouds. But wait, there's more. Donnie Diapers has been making some pretty wild claims about saving America. Saving it from what, you ask? Common sense? Democracy? The ability to string together coherent sentences? Who knows? But don't worry, folks. For just 10 easy payments of your dignity and whatever loose change you can find in your couch, you too can help save America from the terrors of, well, whatever Trump's imagination has cooked up this time. The Republican Party is watching all this go down like a deer caught in the headlights of Trump's crazy train. They're stuck between a rock and a hard place, or in this case, between their base and basic sanity. It's like they're trying to herd cats, but the cats are rabid and think they're running for president.
You then have this post by him as well. Trump moving towards peace in Ukraine is the most statesmanlike president in history. And then this is some right-wing crazy article. It says, it calls to mind the American and world leaders who defended freedom during World War II. You serious? You think that? It's probably the opposite. What J.D. Vance did was worse than what Neville Chamberlain did by far. What J.D. Vance did was outright capitulation. What you did was outright capitulation to Putin.
As Trump continues his descent from presidential material to tinfoil hat enthusiast, we're left wondering, what's next on this roller coaster of ridiculousness? Will he claim he can control the weather with his mind? Declare himself the true heir to the throne of England? Start selling Trump-branded straitjackets? Well, folks, we've reached the end of our little journey through Trump's Twitterverse, and what a wild ride it's been. Our orange friend's tantrums aren't just comedy gold, they're a wake-up call about what happens when ego runs the show in politics. It's like watching a toddler try to run a country, but with worse hair and more nuclear codes. But hey, next time you're having a rough day, just remember, at least you're not trying to wage war on math while quoting sketchy leaders and begging for spare change online. And speaking of online, let's not forget to keep our bullshit detectors on high alert. Those fact-checking websites aren't just for nerds anymore. They're like armor against the tsunami of nonsense flooding our feeds. So grab your popcorn and stay tuned, folks. In the Trump Show, the next episode is always nuttier than the last. Who knows, maybe next week he'll try to declare war on gravity or make America float again. Either way, we'll be here, laughing through the tears.
Lansing, Toledo, your plants are going to go down in a week. I'm not bragging, I'm not boasting, I'm not threatening. Donald, do what you're going to do. We will have no parry with grifters and criminals that you have brought. We'll do our best. You do your worst.
What happens when you poke a sleeping moose? Apparently, you get a $100 billion tariff tantrum. Canada's not playing nice anymore, folks.
So here's how it's going to go down. This is going to be very rough. But the big wake-up call is for our American friends.
MP Charlie Angus just laid down the law, and it's got more bite than a beaver on steroids. From bourbon bans to auto industry threats, Canada's showing Trump they're not just igloos and Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video. So our friendly neighbors up north have finally had enough of Trump's shenanigans. Who knew Canadians could get this fired up, eh? It's like watching Mr. Rogers suddenly transform into the Hulk, but instead of turning green, he's turning red with maple leaf-fueled rage. Trump thought he could push Canada around with his tariffs, probably figuring they'd just apologize and offer him some poutine. But boy, was he wrong. Canada's not playing nice anymore, folks. They've decided to fight fire with fire, or in this case, tariffs with tariffs. And we're not talking about some measly little trade spat here.
Donald, we love to squabble amongst ourselves, but when you tell us that we're not going to have a future as a nation, well, guess what? The fight's coming to you.
Nope. Canada's hitting back with a whopping $100 billion in tariffs. That's enough loonies to make even the richest beaver blush. Our buddy Charlie Angus, a Canadian MP, has gone from being your average polite politician to a full-on tariff terminator. He's not mincing words either. Charlie Boy made it clear that Canadians know how to band together when faced with a bully. It's like the entire country just collectively cracked their knuckles and said, "Hold my Molson, eh?"
Simple thing, you know, you can do your part. Don't buy American. And they said, what are you talking about? We stopped buying products in the grocery stores over a week ago. We check everything.
But wait, there's more. Ontario's Premier Doug Ford, yeah, that's right, they've got their own Ford up there, has banned US companies from bidding on government contracts. We're talking tens of billions of dollars here, folks. Doug's not pulling any punches, saying Ontario won't do business with people hell-bent on destroying their economy.
Message to the U.S. You come and attack Ontario, you attack livelihoods of people of Ontario and Canadians. We're going to use every tool in our toolbox.
Ouch, that's gotta sting more than a Canadian winner, eh, Trump? And if you thought that was harsh, get a load of this. The Liquor Control Board of Ontario, which is like the booze boss of the whole province, is yanking American beer, wine, and spirits off their shelves. We're talking about nearly $1 billion Canadian in annual sales.
The number one purchaser of Kentucky spirits in the world is Canada. And all our provinces have just pulled it off the shelves.
Looks like Kentucky bourbon just got put on ice, and not in a good way. Now, I know what you're thinking, but won't this hurt Canada too? Well, yeah, probably. Experts are warning about increased costs for businesses and consumers, especially in industries that rely on American imports. But apparently, Canadians are willing to take a hit if it means standing up to the orange menace south of their border.
See the punch that's coming, and that counter punch that's going to come from Canada is going to hurt heavily. We know it's going to hurt us, but we have no choice.
Of course, the Canadian government is bracing for some potential backlash from U.S. consumers and businesses. These tariffs are going to shake up supply chains and jack up prices across all sorts of industries. It's like economic Jenga, and Trump just pulled out the wrong block. All right, folks, grab your maple syrup and strap in, because Canada's about to give Trump a lesson in economics that'll make his head spin faster than a hockey puck. You thought this trade war was just about cars and bourbon. Think again, hosers. Canada's got a shopping list of American goods to tax, and it's longer than the line at Tim Hortons during a Leafs game. We're talking hundreds of products here, from Kentucky's finest bourbon to Florida's juiciest oranges. Looks like Trump's America First policy is about to get a big fat Canada says no stamp. But here's where it gets really interesting. Remember all those auto plants in Michigan and Ohio that Trump promised to save? Well, they might be singing the blues real soon. Our buddy Charlie Angus, the Canadian MP who's gone full tariff Terminator, dropped a bombshell. He said, and I quote, "Your plants are going to go down in a week."
Lansing, Toledo, your plants are going to go down in a week. I'm not bragging, I'm not boasting, I'm not threatening.
Ouch, that's gotta hurt more than getting checked into the boards by Zdeno Chara. See, Trump probably thought Canada was just a bunch of polite folks who'd roll over and say sorry. But he forgot one tiny detail. The North American auto industry is more tangled up than Trump's tax returns. You can't just slap tariffs on one side without the whole thing falling apart faster than Trump's hairdo in a strong wind. And it's not just car parts that'll be feeling the pinch. American shoppers might need to start pinching pennies, or loonies in this case.
Delivery of important parts to American auto plants, the assembly lines start to come down very quickly.
Talk to them about tariffs. Canada has been discussing this quite actively overnight with the president's proposed 25% tariffs.
Joe Brusuelas, some fancy economist guy, says these tariffs could jack up prices on everything from mortgages to car loans. So if you were planning on buying a new F-150, you might want to hold onto your toque for a while. But wait, there's more. Canada's got an ace up its sleeve that'll make Trump sweat more than a snowman in July. They're talking about curbing energy exports to the US. That's right, folks. All that sweet, sweet oil and natural gas Canada has been sending our way. They might just decide to keep it for themselves.
Premier Doug Ford is threatening to cut off energy supply to the US in response to the tariffs threatened by US President-elect Donald Trump.
We saw this morning Donald Trump saying that the tariffs against our country were going to stay on until we cease to exist as a nation.
It's like playing chicken with a moose. You don't want to find out who blinks first. Trump's probably scratching his head right now, wondering if Canada's always been this sneaky. Maybe he thought they were too busy eating poutine and apologizing to come up with a plan this devious. But Canada's message is crystal clear. Mess with us, and we'll make your wallet cry harder than Trump watching CNN. Well, folks, it looks like Canada's finally had enough of Trump's shenanigans. Who knew our polite neighbors could throw such a tariff tantrum?
Auto sector is so integrated in North America that if Donald Trump starts throwing up barriers...
Grumpy Trumpy probably thought he could bully Canada into submission, but he forgot one thing. You don't mess with a country that wrestles polar bears for fun. This trade war is heating up faster than Trump's Twitter feed after a bad hair day.
Donald, do what you're going to do. We will have no parry with grifters and criminals that you have brought. We'll do our best. You do your worst.
Canada's not just talking the talk, they're walking the walk, right over Trump's ego. From bourbon bans to auto industry threats, they're showing Donnie diapers that they mean business. Will Trump realize he's messed with the wrong moose? Or will he keep tweeting his way into trouble? One thing's for sure, this maple-flavored revenge is sweeter than Tim Hortons' finest. Stay tuned, folks, and maybe grab some popcorn. This show's just getting started.
Look, I'm a very stable genius. Now, if you'll excuse me, it's past my cheeseburger's bedtime. Let's go.
But wait, what happened to this guy?
Anytime, anywhere, anyplace.
Somehow he went from anytime, anywhere, any place to there will be no third debate.
If you're going under for surgery, the last thing you want to hear your doctor say is, don't worry, I'm mentally stable and, like, really smart.
Let's be honest, we've all had that Melania moment. Stuck at a party we'd rather not be at. But have you ever had it broadcast to millions? Poor Melania's face said it all. And boy, did Kimmel and Colbert notice. They turned her grimace into a goldmine of jokes. From prenup regrets to escape plans, they left no stone unturned. Sound familiar? Stick around and let's laugh at the absurdity together. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Well folks, it looks like Melania Trump just had her own family reunion from hell moment, but instead of Aunt Edna's mystery casserole, she got a heaping helping of national TV exposure. Picture this, Trump's big win, confetti raining down like dollar bills at a strip club, and there's Melania, looking like she just bit into a lemon that was already half eaten by a skunk.
If you won't feel an earthquake if you're wearing Crocs. They act as a shock absorber, and you're totally safe if you wear them. That's true. I learned that from J.D. Vance.
If you're going under for surgery, the last thing you want to hear your doctor say is, don't worry, I'm mentally stable and, like, really smart.
Dodging a debate makes him look like the coward that he is. And she challenged him to another one immediately. He wants no part of it.
While Trump was doing his victory dance, imagine a toddler who just found the cookie jar. Melania's face was practically screaming, "Get me out of here!" faster than you can say prenup. Jimmy Kimmel, always quick on the draw, spotted it right away. He said Melania looked more miserable than Mike Pence at an open bar serving different flavors of milk. Ouch, that's gotta hurt more than Trump's spray tan on a sunburn. But wait, there's more. Stephen Colbert wasn't about to let Kimmel hog all the laughs. He joked that Melania's face was so frozen, he thought she'd been hit by one of Trump's wind turbine cancer rays. Double ouch. I mean, talk about a face that could stop traffic and maybe even reverse climate change while it's at it. As the night went on, the jokes just kept coming. It was like watching a tennis match, but instead of balls, they were hitting us with punchlines. Kimmel quipped that Melania looked so unhappy, he thought she was watching one of Trump's speeches on repeat. Can you imagine? That's like being forced to listen to nails on a chalkboard while someone simultaneously pokes you with a stick.
But wait, what happened to this guy?
Anytime, anywhere, anyplace.
Somehow he went from anytime, anywhere, any place to there will be no third debate.
He continued, I went from very successful businessman to top TV star, ...
According to Rolling Stone, members of Trump's inner circle think another debate would be a bad idea. They say his performance was so disappointing, he doesn't know whether to call it Eric or Don Jr. at this point.
Colbert, not to be outdone, referred to her as Melancholia Trump. I guess Melania just wasn't sad enough to capture the full depth of her apparent misery. It's like she was auditioning for a remake of The Addams Family right there on stage. Body language experts, yeah, that's a real job, chimed in too, saying Melania's demeanor suggested she'd rather be anywhere else. Gee, you think? She looked about as comfortable as a vegan at a barbecue competition. Throughout the evening, the comedians kept likening Melania's expression to someone plotting an escape. Let's be real, if looks could kill, we'd be looking at an entirely different kind of Trump headline right now. Alright folks, let's talk about the real MVPs of the Trump era. Our late night comedy heroes, Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert. These guys have been roasting Trump like a marshmallow at a campfire, and somehow they're still finding new ways to make us laugh. You'd think after years of Trump jokes, they'd run out of material faster than Trump runs out of hairspray. But nope, these comedy ninjas keep finding new targets. It's like they've got some kind of Trump dar that picks up on every little thing he does. Take Kimmel, for example. He's got a thing for Trump's unique, let's call it glow. He once said Trump looks like he fell asleep on a George Foreman grill. I mean, can you picture that? It's like he's trying to cook himself into the perfect shade of orange. Maybe he thinks it makes him look more appealing, like a giant Cheeto. Colbert, on the other hand, loves to go after Trump's ego. And let's face it, that's a target bigger than Trump's.
Look, I'm a very stable genius. Now, if you'll excuse me, it's past my cheeseburger's bedtime. Let's go.
The voters and voter polls showed it, but the fake news media wasn't giving the credit that was due. Wow. Remember, I wasn't debating one person, I was debating three. They should fire everybody at ABC Fake News.
Being like really smart is not the same thing as being really smart, sir.
When a prize fighter loses a fight, the first words out of his mouth are, "I want a rematch." Polls clearly show that I won the debate against Comrade Kamala Harris.
Well, you know, Colbert's jabs are sharper than the creases in Trump's ill-fitting suits. He's even changed his strategy, now going after not just Trump, but all the people who enable him. It's like he's playing whack-a-mole with the whole Trump circus. But here's the thing, it's not easy being a late-night host in the Trump era. These guys are like marathon runners, but instead of miles, they're counting Trump tweets. Every night, they've got to come up with new material. It's exhausting. Colbert even said, everything that could be said about Trump as a character has already been said. But does that stop him? Heck no. You might think they'd get tired of it all, but Kimmel's not backing down. He's promised more jokes, even though he admits it's really hard to see a bright side here. It's like he's the little engine that could, but instead of "I think I can," he's saying "I think I can make fun of Trump again."
Still trying to convince the MAGAverse that he didn't blow it on Tuesday night against Kamala Harris, even though he is clearly terrified of facing her again.
Also, I think it's worth mentioning that people who are mentally stable generally don't announce it.
Nice, even for a few seconds, to be rattled by something other than the election this morning.
And a very stable genius at that. Yes.
And just when you think they've covered it all, Trump does something new. It's like he's feeding them material on a silver platter. Or should I say, a golden toilet. These comedians were just getting warmed up like Trump's Twitter fingers at 3 a.m. It's a never-ending cycle of absurdity and laughter. But here's the million-dollar question. How long can they keep this up? Will they ever run out of Trump jokes? Or will Trump keep providing fresh material faster than you can say, "Kafef"? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure. As long as Trump keeps trumping, Kimmel and Colbert will keep us laughing. Well, folks, we've had quite the roller coaster ride through the land of Trump jokes. From Melania's sour face to the Donald's tangerine glow, Kimmel and Colbert have kept us laughing through it all. Who knew politics could be this funny? But here's the real kicker. All this laughter might actually be good for us. Turns out giggling at Grumpy Trumpy could be just what the doctor ordered for election stress. So next time you're feeling down about the state of the world, remember, somewhere out there, Kimmel and Colbert are cooking up their next zinger about the orange turd. And hey, if you're hungry for more political comedy, why not check out our next video? Trump goes mad after Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert exposed Melania with one word. Trust me, it's gonna be huge.